So hello and welcome. My name's Eva and I'm Eva from Eva Christie Hand Knitting. I've been watching quite a lot of knitting podcasts recently, and having been to the Edinburgh Yarn Festival for the first ever time this year, and having returned as a vendor to the East Central Scotland Guild of Spinners, Dyers and Weavers, I really felt it was time that I needed to kind of pop my podcast cherry and start interacting with you in a new way. So I hope you'll bear with me as I try this. Not very good at speaking to the camera, really quite nervous, not really sure what sort of format that I should be taking with this. So this really is quite a sketch, and hopefully it'll become a two-way conversation between you guys and me as well, and we can work at this together and see how we can create this amazing knitting thing. Okay, so a little bit about me for those of you that maybe don't know me already or are aware of my Facebook page or my Twitter or anything else like that. I'm 35 years old. I am based in Perth in Scotland. I grew up on the west coast of Scotland in a little village called Gairlickhead, which is quite close by to Helensburgh, and that's 50 miles west of Glasgow. And it was my mum who taught me how to knit when I was really quite a small girl, and I've kept it up ever since then. And my mum taught herself how to knit when she was pregnant and expecting me, and I'm the first of her 3 children. So it was something that I kind of grew up with and has always kind of felt part of my culture, part of my blood, a really good way of kind of expressing myself, and it's something that I still dearly love up until this day. So I wasn't sure about when I'm doing my podcast whether I should maybe follow a kind of a similar format to some more sort of interesting ones that I like myself. I think that might be quite a safe way to begin with, until I kind of find my feet and see how we're getting on. So on that kind of way, I'd like to show you a couple of new yarns that I've just recently added to my stash. And now I've got some beauties here. I've got this. This came from the guild, from one of the members there called Carolyn, from Carolyn's Colours, which is a luxury hand-dyed yarns and fibres. She dyes a lot with merino, biffle, which is blueface Leicester, alpaca and silk. Here you go, you see that there. Up until recently, Carolyn used to vend on Etsy, but I believe she's taking a break from it just now. So I am in discussions with her to see if I can be a stocker of some of her yarns, because they're just very fluffy, very vibrant, some of them. And I'm really looking forward to knitting this. This is going to be a rare knit actually for myself. I'm a big fan of fingerless mittens, I use them all the time. So I quite fancy a 2x2 rib, fingerless or gauntlet, or I might even use the rib pattern that I've used on my own Sinclair Street fingerless mittens before and size it up. This is pink! That's what she's called it, pink. Not just pink, pink! We've got, it's 100% merino sport. And we've got 100 grams, so that's 375 metres. So it's just a wee bitty thicker than your traditional sort of 4-ply fingering or sock yarn weight, so I'm looking forward to that. I got another 2 yarns from the Guild open day, so I was really quite restrained, but then again I had just come back from the Edinburgh Yarn Festival with another 9 skeins that I really didn't need, but I'm sure all you fibre artists out there, keen knitters, crocheters, spinners and all that kind of understand that it's never an I don't need. It's you see it and you have to have, and you might not be quite sure what it's going to turn into yet, but it just needs to go home with you. So I've got this yarn here as well. This is also from Carolyn's Colours. There we go. And this is called Pastel Palette. It's another 100% merino sport. It's 100 grams to 375 metres. And I've got some really, really lovely colours in there. You see them there. so I'm not quite sure what that's going to be yet, but that doesn't matter, it just needed to come home with me. So those are some of my new acquisitions to be added into the ever-growing stash. Next I'm going to move on to some finished objects that I've done. So I haven't done as much knitting this week as I normally would, and I'm not quite sure how often I'm going to update the podcast. I know some do it weekly, some do it a wee bit longer, so I'm going to be quite flexible with that. So at the minute I'm just looking to what have I done in the past week, or else I'll be here with absolutely tons of stuff to share with you. So first up, we've got a pair of my Rest and Be Thankful mittens that I was asked to do for a friend. These are a knitting kit that I sell, either at events where I'm a vendor, or you can come see me at one of my pop-up shops, or I'm just about to finally get everything online. It's been quite a big learning curve for me. I didn't want to just dive in and immediately do it. I wanted to make sure it looks good, it looks professional, because it's good quality stuff that I'm selling. All my patterns are technically checked before they're put into a kit, and you get a really lovely natural fibre to knit with as part of that kit as well. So I can't tell you the yarn brand on these, it's an agreement that I actually have with the suppliers. Annoying, I know, but I can tell you that these are made from pure alpaca. And these come in 6 different colours. They're all sort of natural alpaca shades, apart from a lovely denim blue that I do as well. So these are my Rest and Be Thankful mittens, which are named after the Rest and Be Thankful just up from Arachar, which is quite close to where I grew up as a girl. So I've got those done. And sewing up, which is a big thing, because I absolutely hate sewing. But they're done, so that's good. These aren't sewn up yet, so they're not quite technically a finished object. They just came off my needles yesterday afternoon. I have been playing about with sock yarns. Absolutely adore sock yarns, variegated, hand dyed, oh, just all of the sock yarns. So I had some in my stash. This is from Knit Global. I can't remember the colourway or the exact yardage because I have lost the label from it, but it is Knit Global. It will be about 400 metres. It's 100 grams. It's sock yarn weight, and I believe it's probably hand dyed as well, although I'm not 100% sure on that one. And then I have some leftover Opal sock yarn, which is really quite funky and variegated, and I'd already done a couple of pairs of fingerless mittens in this alone. So I was having a look at my stash, looking at what I could play with, and decided that these two were really quite wild against one another, and thought about doing a pair of stripy fingerless mittens, see how it would come together. So with that in mind, you know, taking into account that they're not actually sewn up yet, we have here some stripy fingerless mittens, or they will be once they're sewn up. So yeah, quite happy with how they've turned out. Really quite different. I thought the purples and the pinks really kind of pop out against the colder blues and yellows, so quite a lot of contrast and colours going on in there, so really quite happy. You can see how it's just kind of pulled out the ball here. We've got some sort of darker sort of denim-y blue bits, but I quite like that. Each paper would always be different anyway when it comes to using hand-dyed or variegated yarns. Depending how many stitches you cast on, what you're knitting with it, you are never going to get two the same anyway. And Opal quite often just do runs where they will come up with a particular colourway, they'll print it off, and I've seen videos of how they do this in their factories, and it's fascinating actually just to watch. But they do a yarn colourway for about 3 months at a time, and then they completely discontinue it. So unless you manage to get it online somewhere from a supplier that might have some stock left, or on eBay or other online platforms that are available, then you're never ever going to get that colourway again. So that's quite interesting. I quite like that. Now we're going to come to on the needles. I've got a few items on my needles. I think quite a lot of knitters and crocheters are like that. I'm just going to show U1, the main one that I'm working on at the moment, because it's been quite good recently. I've been taking quite a lot of things on and sewing them up and kind of leaving them, so I do need to have a look back through things that I've got on my needles and go, you know, I played about with that, I'm happy, possibly just frog them back. To the uninitiated, that's just kind of ripping them completely back and starting again, because they might not just be coming out quite the way that I kind of envisaged in my head. So I'm going to share with you one of my projects that's on my needles. This is my main one at the moment. I've been knitting up quite a lot of slouchy sock yarn hats. Absolutely love slouchy sock yarn hats, and they are very popular as an item for me to sell. Oh, I've just lost a few stitches off my needle there, so that's not good. Just pick those up before I continue. This is some Rusty Ferret colourway, Rusty Ferret yarn that I got from the Guild, Dundee. Now this is hand dyed and stocked by one place in Scotland, and that's the lovely Fluph, which is spelled F-L-U-P-H. It's a wee indie yarn boutique in Dundee. They've been doing very well for themselves, got a lovely knitting community and fibre community around them. And Leonie has just started, I'm not sure if she's just started, but she's been hand dyeing her own yarn to sell, as well as some of the more kind of slightly upmarket, really good quality brands that she stocks. And she brought some Rusty Ferrets over to the Guild Open Day. It was just, oh, must have this. I love the name. I love the label. Here it is. Look at the label. This is Rusty Ferret. So the colourway I picked up is called Delusion. This is doll 4 ply, and it was dyed this month actually, so just the beginning of this month, which is quite a nice touch to have those details. It's 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and it's 400 metres to 100 grams. So really recommend that you try and get your hands on some of your little paws. This is the yarn which I've caked up. I've already started knitting with it, and it really is quite bright, so I'm not sure if the camera's picking up just how bright and gorgeous this is. And at first I wasn't sure, because I thought we're getting some quite interesting pooling in the ways that the colours are kind of coming around here. Look how vibrant they are, they're so much fun. And I absolutely love that sort of really bright white colour as well. Now the merino, this is so smushy, and it's, I mean, this hasn't been blocked yet. I'll wet block it once it's finished, but some really good stitch definition in there, which is what I love from my yarns. Really soft. It's going to be quite lightweight. So yeah, I wasn't sure when it came to the ribbing. I thought, oh, how's this going to work out? You know, just continue on, see how we feel. Don't fear the knitter. You know, you can always rip it out and use it again. It's not a big deal if it doesn't turn out the way you like. But then I had to increase some stitches as we came onto the main body of the hat, and just as we've done that around the row, look, it's kind of like self-striping now, which is absolutely brilliant. So I'm really pleased with that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get my hands on some more Rusty Ferret once this is done. And I haven't shown any of this to Leonie yet, so I'm getting quite excited about showing her how her yarn's coming up, because I've seen some socks and things that have been knitted with this already, and they all look really awesome. Although I'm not really a big sock knitter, I can do it, but I kind of feel that life's a bit short to be knitting socks. I wear my Doc Marten boots quite a lot, and I just feel that the wear in them, that, you know, for all the time that I would spend knitting, I would just work my way through the heels and the toes, and then I'd be absolutely devastated. So yeah, so that should hopefully be finished by the next time I speak with you, and I can show you it as a finished object. So I'm just going to take a wee moment. I've got my coffee going on here in my lovely Moomin mug. I absolutely love this mug. This was a present from my mister the first Christmas that we spent together, and unbeknownst to one another, we both bought each other a Moomin mug. So this is the one that he got for me, so that's sweet, my favourite mug in the whole world. I've noticed as well in some of the sort of knitting podcasts and things that I've been following that the people I really rate are talking a bit about things that they're reading at the moment, what they're watching and what they're listening to, and I quite like that idea, because I think that sometimes as an artist that can influence you. And I know from sort of watching other podcasts and having conversations with other sort of creative people that it's maybe put me off on a road that I might not have gone on as well, and I've kind of explored sort of different veins of information and such as well. So I thought I would share with you what I have been reading and watching and listening to recently. So I don't have the copy because I've sent it back to the library, but in the last week I finished Moby Dick, which was quite a whale of a tale, pun intended. All 624 pages of it, and I enjoyed it more than I thought. You know, spoiler alerts possibly in this section, that you know, I'm not going to totally give the game away, but very, very happy with the ending and how it all worked out. Not quite what I was expecting, so yeah, very, very pleased indeed. I finished reading Sidetracked by Henning Mankell. Oh, I love Henning Mankell. I'm a big fan of crime fiction and thrillers, and the scandier the better, to be honest. So I finished reading this. This is the 5th title in the Valander series, and by far it's been my favourite. I was riveted from the start. Really quite gruesome. It involves someone who's exacting revenge on some very nasty men, and it doesn't really become apparent at first what the connection is. And there's sort of like a Native American Indian slant on that, where from these murders, yeah, the murder victims are being scalped. So wee bitty gruesome, not too gruesome compared to some things that I've read, but yeah, this is worth checking out. So yeah, I've been reading them in sequence. This is the 5th in the Valander series, and it's definitely worth having a read at. And then the final thing I'm reading at the moment is this. This is Bruar's Rest by Jess Smith. Jess Smith is from the travelling community in Scotland, although she now lives in a tiny cottage at the feet of Ben Chauncey in picturesque Glenturret, which isn't a million miles away from where we are, really. So I'm a third of the way through it at the moment. It's quite interesting. It covers the periods just before and so far going into the First World War, where yeah, the heroine of the book, her husband Bruar and her brother-in-law are gone away to fight in the Great War, and I'm not going to elaborate any more on that because I really don't like spoiling the storyline, the plot in these novels. So yeah, it's better than I thought it would be. I started reading it, I thought I really can't be doing with all this lassie and laddie and kind of Scottish thing, and I know it's a big part of my culture, but it just sometimes it's almost like over the top Scottishness, and I really don't go for that. But this is it's quite well written. It's kind of being written for the mainstream, but it's engaging nonetheless. So I'll stick with it. Excuse me. So what have I been watching? Well, I've been watching Neighbours, Hotel Death Trap. I'm filming this on a Monday, and last Monday I watched the late night hour-long episode. Like I said, spoilers if you've not watched it already. Some quite, you know, heart and gut moments going, oh, didn't quite see that coming, oh my goodness, oh no. Yeah, I don't know if the death toll's completely up yet, but so far within the first week there have been 2 deaths, which were quite surprising. We were told that not everyone would make it out alive, but it's been handled really quite well, some great sensitivity. Although I've got to say, I'm surprised that when nobody knew what caused the explosion in the hotel, that everybody's about on mobile phones. I mean, does no one think if it had been a gas explosion, if it had been the boiler, one of the last things you do is actually switch on a mobile phone. But maybe then again, I worked in the energy industry for far too long and know about all this sort of safety stuff, but you would think it's the sort of basic stuff that we should be taught. So yeah, maybe not hugely accurate. The same with allowing family members in to say goodbye when they're not sure that a structure is completely safe. I can understand that need and that want, knowing that you know, a young man's going to die and this is your final chance to kind of make peace and all the rest of it, and to be there to comfort. But yeah, but good storyline nonetheless, and I'll stop watching it once all this is over, more than likely. Neighbours is a bit of a guilty pleasure occasionally. Home and Away, it's just something that's on in the background while I'm knitting. All these things are, I never usually just sit there and watch something. It's usually something's on while I'm working. So I've watched that. I watched Iverson, which was a documentary on NBA basketball and all-star player Allen Iverson. So I watched that with my mister, who's a big basketball fan. So we were watching that yesterday while I was working on the Rust Ferret. Really quite surprised by how engrossed I became in his story, and as I was saying to Josh afterwards, that I'm really quite surprised just how well adjusted a man Allen Iverson has become. After everything that he's been through in his life, from, you know, unjust and false imprisonment, and just by being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and being a young black man in Southern America, yeah, quite humbled by his humility. Quite a genuine man. Didn't expect that, so we watched that on Netflix, and it's definitely worth a look, whether you're a sports fan or interested in sort of Black American culture, African American culture, or just a good story about people's lives. Watched a fair bit of television yesterday in the background. BBC Countryfile was on in Northumberland, which is, you know, it's got that usual sort of, you know, does what it says in the tin. And the Antiques Roadshow, which I can't stand Fiona Bruce. She just does my head in. I think it's that old, you know, public school girl mentality, head girl. Yeah, it doesn't really talk to me, doesn't really represent me. But I don't know her personally. I'm sure she's a lovely, lovely person. But I watched it because it was at the Kelvin Grove Museum and Art Gallery in Glasgow, and that's somewhere that I used to go and visit as a child, and absolutely loved it. I spent time there at secondary school as well. My art class went up for a day. We spent half a day at Kelvin Grove and half a day at the Botanic Gardens, and did quite a lot of sketching to help support our artwork. Our art teacher, Mr. Skinner, took us, and that was awesome. So it's quite a special place, although it's changed a lot since I was last there. I've been listening to podcasts. So I had been listening to Geeky Girls Knit, episodes 185, 186 and episode 187. I've just started listening to them, and I'm going to start working my way all the way back now. I am absolutely thrilled. Very grateful that Cece, who is one half of Geeky Girls Knit, she's the one with the bright fluorescent pink funky hair, she gave me a shout out under her Yummies section, which is where she and her daughter Dammy and Dammy's Noodles go and discuss their new favourite things that they love. It's not just yarn, it's other things as well. But yeah, I met Cece at the guild meeting, and she grabbed some yarn from me as I was setting up. Oh, can I have this? And she got a beautiful, really bright sock blank of fluorescent pink, neon yellow, and bits of orange in it as well. She's going to knit some of her famous socks up in that. So looking forward to seeing how they turn out. So yeah, if you want to watch that, it's the Geeky Girls Knit episode 187, and I get a wee check about 17 minutes in. I also watched Cody's Knits episode 1. and I watched Dark Matters Knits episode 19 as well. So I'm exploring quite a lot of other knitting podcasts at the moment, see how people do things, how to best interact with you, and see what you think and whether this is something worth continuing with. I'd love you to interact with me, and you can do so by commenting once I get this uploaded, because I haven't got a clue how to do that, but it can't be that difficult. So I noticed everyone else has kind of put show notes up, so I'll put some show notes up. You can comment. You can find me on Facebook and Tumblr at Eva Christie Hand Knitting. You can find me on Twitter at Eva Knits, and you can email me at evachristiehandknitting@gmail.com. So I would love to hear from you, see what you think, and yeah, maybe give it another week or so and see how this turns out, and we'll post up another podcast and take it from there. So thank you very much for giving me a shot, for listening in, for being with me. Have a great Monday, have a great week, and I will speak to you again. So please, yeah, like I said, get in touch. And normally on Facebook is usually the best way to get hold of me, and speak to you soon. Bye bye.